I recently got a question on my Twitter on how exactly tower damage works, especially when it comes to early game diving and how much damage you take from them, how quickly. And that's what we're gonna look into today. This is gonna be a very simple video, not much complex stuff going here, not very in-depth, just some basics for tower damage. A lot of the information here is from Flairboot's Word of Thoth. There is more in-depth information in Word of Thoth as well about towers and many other things. So if you want to know all the details, you can look into that too. For the more simple format that we're going to do here, let's first talk about the damage. The base damage of a tier 1 tower is 215. Tier 2 is 230 and Phoenix is even more than 300, but that's not that relevant for us here. We're focusing on the tier 1 because that's where the diving would happen. The only exception to this is the Assault tier 1, which will also deal 230 damage. Therefore, an assault damage taken from a tower might already feel a little bit different. With towers, their damage isn't limited to just the base damage though. The damage scales up for an additional 20% of the base damage with each shot. So for example, if one tower shot after mitigation does 170 damage, then the next shot will deal an extra 34 damage. And every shot afterwards also deals an extra 34 damage on top. It doesn't scale with the higher value, always going from this base value, always 20% on top of that, so always the static value in this case of 34. That means the 6th shot would deal 200% of the initial tower damage. Resetting the aggro of a tower will reset the damage entirely, which is why when tanking a tower it can be very helpful to swap aggro. And if that's only between two different tanks, a Guardian resetting aggro to a warrior once means overall they both take significantly less damage combined than if only one of them was tanking the tower the whole way through. Something that often feels off, especially to new players, is the distance at which a tower will still hit you. This is due to the fact that towers really don't care about distance at all. Towers' projectiles work very differently. If you look at the projectiles closely, when you get hit by a shot, then afterwards the next shot is not fired immediately, but the tower aims at you for a while. Once, however, this next shot is fired, it will follow you no matter where you go. That means if you go under a tower and the first shot is fired and you don't want to take the second shot, you have to be out of the tower before the projectile of the second shot leaves the tower itself. When the projectile is out, unless you have a damage immunity, like for example Aegis or Changos 2, you will get hit by that projectile even if you're temporarily untargetable. And don't underestimate how quickly the tower can fire its second projectile as well. For example, if you jump from outside a tower into a tower as Bastet, as far as you can jump towards the tower, and then jump right back immediately, you will already be targeted for the second shot and you will take damage from 2 shots. On a side note, how these scalings work is exactly the reason why Emperor's Armor is considered very powerful by many high-level players, as the 30% attack speed decrease against a tower means that their damage stacks much slower. You can actually immediately feel the difference also when trying it out with Bastet. If you jump in with Emperor's Armor, doing the same thing as before, and jump out immediately, you won't even get hit by a second shot. Normally a tower shoots 1 shot per second, so with Emperor's Armor it takes a tower 1.3 seconds to shoot a second shot. So what about diving? There are 2 classes that can really consider diving most of the time. Obviously there are exceptions, but those are the ones where I more frequently see reason to do it. One is certain assassins and the other one are warriors. With the assassins, the reason for diving is that you have a lot of mobility, you can quickly get in, get out, finish off a low health target even on early levels. A prime example here again would be Bastet. With Bastet you can jump in and you can use your entire kit and you can get out just in time if you have full HP beforehand. You'll take 3 tower shots, which is barely enough to survive because the 4th tower shot would already kill you. Definitely not enough for excessive diving or a lot of attack cancelling, but it's possible. Some other assassins can do the same thing, for example Susano, but many others don't have the mobility to get out again, so they can only really dive when there's minions around to let them get in the first place, or when the enemy is only at tower edge. Obviously having pets or minions like Bastet and Bakasura do makes the job a lot easier, as they can take the aggro while you walk towards the enemy, and you just have to make sure not to aggro the tower beforehand. For a level 5 warrior, the story is a little bit different. You will still take a decent amount of damage going under a tower, but with your higher health, defenses, and if you have Warrior's Blessing as well, your damage taken is a significant amount lower. Depending on your build, you should be able to comfortably soak up 4 shots from full health. Now keep in mind, you won't always be at full health when this happens, so often you will have to get out quicker. Warriors with additional self-sustain or shields can potentially tank the tower even longer. For example, a Kukulin that switches into his Berserk mode, getting a shield from that, will be able to tank an extra shot, making it a total of 5 tower shots. It obviously helps that he gets extra mobility as well, so use that wisely. And he's not the only one who has a situation like that. For example, Tyr can also ult in and then uses 1 to get the enemy and himself out. Obviously, with lower levels, diving is harder. With higher levels and more physical defense, it becomes a lot easier, so the risk sinks significantly on later levels. But early dives can pay off for your team if you know what you're doing and you can get any significant lead out of them. And with that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of diving and towers on early levels. If you're new to the channel, if you could stop by with the bell, it really helps me out. Other than that, see you for the next one soon. DukeSloth, out.